Hello and welcome to this class on what are sound waves. So I am Laura Lewis and this video is suitable for Key Stage 3 Physics and start of GCSE Physics 2. So nice animation there of some waves. Let's get on to the next slide. So number 1, understand the characteristics of sound and other longitudinal waves. Number 2, describe the behaviour of sound as a wave and how different media affects its behaviour. Number 3, how to answer questions on sound and its properties. So let's start with the question here. We see a firework explode before we hear it because. Is it because our eyes are more sensitive than our ears? The explosion only gives off a sound after it has happened, or the sound happens after the explosion, or light travels faster than sound. So which one, so if you choose one of those, see which, choose one of those. So I'm going to let that on the screen for a minute. Okay. Let's look at the answer. So the answer is, you've got it right, otherwise write down the correct answer. So it's D, light travels faster than sound. So speed of light, 299,792,458 meters per second, often round up to 300 million. The speed of light, I've made another video on the speed of light too. The speed of sound is only, in comparison, 330 meters per second. So yeah, light will travel a lot faster than the sound. So you often notice this when there's a thunderstorm and you see the lightning before you hear the thunder, because thunder is actually caused by lightning heating up the air and making it expand and causing the sound of thunder. Okay, so let's look at some longitudinal waves, the nature and the properties of them. So sound are a type of longitudinal wave. Okay, so longitudinal waves transfer energy from side to side, like as if you pushed a slinky spring. So yeah, the waves move. So longitudinal waves show areas of compression where the waves are compressed together and or they're bunched up, and rarefaction where the waves stretch out. So examples of longitudinal waves are sound waves. So transverse waves, which we'll talk about in a different video, but I'll just put them here as a comparison. If you were sort of pushing a slinky up and down or waving up and down, so they transfer energy from side to side. So yeah, the waves move up and down. So this will be like ripples on a water surface or light. There's a longitudinal waves like sound. Okay, so we can think of it, sound, as a vibration. So sound waves, longitudinal waves, as we just said. So longitudinal waves travel through the air and strike objects around them. So what do sound waves do to particles in solids? So thinking about solids, they travel through for a minute, obviously travel for other things, but we'll think about that. So if you might have played around with 2 cups or 2 cans and a piece of string, you know that if you're talking to one end, the string vibrates and the person can hear you at the other end. So yeah, the sound of your voice vibrates the can, causes the string to vibrate, and our ears collect the sound vibration, sending them to a brain, so sending them to our brain so we can hear sound. So sound itself is just a vibration of the air. It's our brain that turns it into meaning something. It's actually sound is vibrations of air particles. Okay, so let's look at our ears. Okay, so what's happening there? So vibration in the air caused by sound transferred to vibrations in solid that are vital, to our ability to hear. So you have a sound wave coming in. Remember, the sound wave is particles vibrating. Okay, so that's our outer ear. Okay, sound wave and ear canal. So this is going into our head. Now we have the eardrum. The eardrum is a piece of skin stretched over the ear canal. It's very delicate. That's why people tell you not to stick things in your ears, because you can pierce the eardrum. Okay, and that means that it can affect your hearing. It can heal, but it might not heal entirely. It may affect your hearing for life. Okay, because some people get ear infections. If they're not treated on time, they can affect their hearing in later life. So tiny bones of middle ear. So the eardrum vibrates Okay, so like a piece of skin, and that vibrates the 3 bones in the middle of the ear. They're often called the hammer, the anvil, and the stirrup, and they are the smallest bones in the human body. Okay, the ear bones, hammer, anvil, and stirrup. So it's good to know for a quiz or something. The smallest bone in the human body, and then it enters. This is the cochlea, and these are called semicircular canals as well. We don't need to know all these names, okay, at this level, but the cochlea contains little tiny hairs and fluid, okay, which pick up the sound vibrations, which then pass it to the auditory nerve or nerves, okay, which then pass it to our brain. So at this point, up until it gets to our brain, it's just still vibrations. It doesn't really mean anything. So our brain interprets it. It's a bit like we see it. It's like our brain interprets something. Okay, so actually your ears, there's a fluid in here called the cochlea. That means snail in Latin. If it looks like a snail, okay, that it actually affects our balance as well. So sometimes you have an ear infection or damage to your ears. Sometimes it makes you dizzy, okay, because actually the liquid in here, the fluid, the cochlea and the semicircular canal actually affects your balance as well. It's quite interesting how that works. Okay, let's look at some other part of the sound. Okay, so the way sound appear to us, or they sound to us, are closely linked to the frequency of that wave. So remember what frequency was. A frequency is a number of wavelengths passing a point per second. So high frequency waves cause the sound to appear high pitched. We often call it high pitched. Okay, and low frequency causes sound to appear low pitched. Okay, I could have done a high pitched and low pitched. So I think I've got quite a high pitched voice anyway. I can't do a low pitched voice very well. Okay, but you probably know people with high pitched. That high pitched would be like usually someone younger. You can tell young someone's how high pitched their voice is, like a child or a baby with a high pitched sort of noise. Older people, okay, have lower pitched voices. Generally, you can tell. And some animals may that's like a cat's got high pitched, obviously, noise. A low pitch will be like the elephant there. Okay, but it's related to the way they hear. So the range of sounds that we can hear as humans is called our audible range. There is a lower and an upper limit. Okay, so you can see here 20 hertz. Okay, that's a measurement of frequency, is the lowest pitch we can hear. And 20 kilohertz, or 20,000 hertz, is the highest frequency. Other animals, so like the elephants and whales as well, larger animals generally, they can hear lower pitch than we can. And other animals like bats, okay, and you probably know dogs as well, can hear higher pitch, often called ultrasound. Okay, so it's also why is there a limit? Okay, why can we only hear? So it's the ability of sound waves to convert vibrations in gases to vibrations in solids. It's how our ears work. So the lowest frequency that provides a sound wave with enough energy to vibrate particles in a solid is 20 hertz. Below this frequency, the sound wave does not have enough energy to vibrate the particles in a solid at all. So it's quite interesting how this other animals hear, isn't it? It'd be good to look up. Okay, it might be a bit different to how we hear. So the highest frequency that doesn't vibrate all the particles in solid is 20 kilohertz. Above the frequency of the energy of the wave is so high that all the particles in the solid will vibrate instantaneously, that means at the same time. Therefore, sound will not travel as all of the particles are already vibrating. Yeah, again, it's crazy how other animals hear. They might hear a little bit differently to us, but we'll talk about humans today. So ultrasound, you probably heard that word before, ultrasound. Okay. So it's any sound above 20 kilohertz or 20,000 hertz, so range of human hearing. So often we use ultrasound, okay, for scanning in the human body. So fetal scanning, so we see a baby inside, is a good thing because it's non-harmful, okay, because an X-ray, okay, often you see bones, can actually cause harm, okay, so you don't want to cause any undue harm. So an ultrasound transducer, that means like I've actually had I've had an ultrasound scan. It doesn't hurt or anything. Okay, sometimes they're used not just for babies, they're used to people's hearts, their kidneys. lots of other organs. Okay, they're generally, if they doctor can look at an organ for an ultrasound, they will. Okay, rather than using X-ray or any other type, because again, it's the simplest one and the least harmful. Okay, so ultrasound waves pass through tissues of the body. So tissues means types of like skin and other things. It won't pass through bone, so it can't do bones. So striking and developing fetus, the baby, the waves reflect off different tissue boundaries as they move through. So because it's sound, it can reflect off different boundaries. So the reflected wave returns to the transducer at different times depending on what tissue they're reflecting from. So obviously we have different skin tissue, different parts of the body. That's why you can see an image of the baby. The range of the heart or the kidney, okay, not just used for babies. The range of different reflected waves of gallbladder, that one my family had done, they used to produce an image of the fetus on a screen. Okay. So also boats can use, you may have heard it as using echoes or echolocation. Okay, so an echo sounder produces high frequency sound, again, ultrasound, that travels through the water. As the sound passes travel, they reflect off objects. So fish or the bottom of the seabed, this is called an echo, because they bounce back. So a detector is used to measure the time taken for the sound wave to travel to the object or the seabed and reflect it back. The distance that the wave has travelled to the object and back is calculated using distance is speed over time. You've probably seen that equation before. The distance to the object is half because it has to go there and come back. So the distance is actually half. So this is used in like fishing boats to see where fish are. It's used obviously to find out where the bottom of the ocean bed. You don't want to run aground, obviously in a boat and get stuck. Okay. So yeah, ultrasound and echoes. And remember also bats use this as well as a natural thing. So when bats hunt for food at night, obviously it's dark and they can't see. Bats aren't blind, they can see, but obviously it's night time, so there's no light anyway. And they use echolocation to find out like the moths and things they eat at night. And also dolphins do a similar thing too to find fish. Okay, and see they reflect off and they can work out on their brains where the food is. It's quite clever, isn't it? Okay, let's look at some practice questions. So the table gives information about the frequencies and the hearing range of 6 different mammals. Okay, so we've got different frequencies there. Which mammal in the table can hear the highest frequency? So these frequencies are at the lower end. Okay, so the lowest frequency is 5 Hertz. The largest frequency, we look at this end, the biggest one here is top 160 kilohertz. 160,000 hertz. So that's the bat. Okay, it's the highest frequency is the bat. As we said, it uses echolocation, uses ultrasound, so it's a good thing it can hear. Okay, if we look at a human, 20 kilohertz, the only one that can't hear as high as us is the elephant, but it can hear lower. A dog can hear pretty high. Dolphin, again, a dolphin is pretty high because it uses echolocation. Tiger can hear quite high. I didn't really realise that. Cat is not on here, but a cat I think we can hear quite high as well. Okay, because they can hear like mice and things that we can't hear. Like sometimes you see a cat just suddenly like I've got a cat and it will just suddenly turn around in the room. Probably you can hear a mouse outside of something that we can't hear. Okay, you can hear things in the height, and also a dog whistle. If you blow a dog whistle, humans can't hear it, but of course the dog can. Okay, give one example of frequency which an elephant, I was talking about that, an elephant can hear, but which a tiger cannot hear. So they don't know if 5 Hertz is the lowest an elephant can hear, but lowest a tiger can hear is 30 Hertz. So any number between 5 and 30, we go for 10 Hertz. So 10 Hertz, an elephant could hear it, it's within this range. A tiger could not, 10 Hertz. So they could communicate without a tiger knowing. I don't think an elephant would be too concerned about tiger, because the elephant's a lot bigger, but they could talk to each other without tiger hearing. Okay, so let's have a look. Yeah, bat. Okay, so the answers. Any example? Yeah, in the range 5 to 29 Hertz, appropriate number, and unit. Okay, they want a unit there, so Hertz, HZ, or you can say the actual word. Okay, this is an interesting one. There is no air in space. Astronauts in space cannot hear sounds from outside their spacesuits. Explain this. So let's have a little think for a minute about that. There's actually a tagline of a famous film. It says, "In space, no one can hear you scream." Okay, so always remember that one. It helps you remember. I think it's the film Alien. I think I'm not a great film buff, but it's from a film. Okay, so have a think about this for a minute. Okay, let's go through the answers. So sound cannot travel through empty space. Remember, sound needed gas, solid, or liquid it can travel through. So sound cannot travel through a vacuum, empty space. Okay, so except there's no medium to travel through, because there are no particles to vibrate. So sound is all about particles vibrating. So if there are no particles, there can be no sound. Okay, this is different to light, because light can travel through a vacuum of space because it's a light ray, but sound needs particles to vibrate. Okay, thank you for listening to the video today. Hope to see you in another one. Thank you. Goodbye.